Reverend Maria Leggett is an awe-inspiring, perfect soul living in a very human existence as a multifaceted woman in this lifetime. Maria is a spiritualist minister and medium, teacher, spiritual mentor, and women's master circle facilitator. Maria believes spirit is with us all every day, and we must choose to open our minds and our belief system in order to hear the daily messages from spirit. Maria utilizes her training to support her clients as they work through their trauma and embrace their inner light, showing up as their authentic selves in the world. Such a beautiful bio, Maria.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yes. So, how do you define a perfect soul living in a human existence?
So, because I'm a medium and I'm a spiritualist, right? I totally believe in reincarnation. That's how all of this is. We're living these lives to learn our lessons so that we can go back to the other side and go, "Hey, God, look, I learned all this stuff."
Yes.
And so, the fallibility only comes in with the human skin suit. So when we're on the other side, we are absolutely perfect souls. Your higher self is brilliant. It lives in nothing but love. It is unconditional. And then we agree, hey, let's go down to earth and go do some things. And we come down here. And of course, we go through this waterfall of forgetfulness. And because we have to in order to be able to survive, right? It's why we come into this world not being able to see, not being able to hear. Like that's for a function. If we were born going, hey, listen, I just saw your grandma, mom, and she said to tell you hello, she might be a little upset about that. So it was all for a function, which is great. But, when we're born into this human skin suit, we agree to be born into a household that's going to teach us the lessons that we need to learn. And so we wind up developing egos from what our parents think, what our grandparents think, what our immediate family, right? That's how that root chakra starts to develop from in the womb. And I don't know that everybody knows that, but your root chakra actually starts to develop in the womb.
I didn't know that.
Yep, it's the last trimester. That's when the root chakra starts to develop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so the soul comes in and out of this body all the time. The soul is not fully in the baby until the umbilical cord is cut.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So this is why, as a medium, and I know I rub up against a lot of people's faith and belief systems, but I have heard this too many times from the other side to ignore it, especially when I'm speaking to women. I want to make sure that women understand this. If for any reason you have had an abortion or a miscarriage, that soul just wasn't ready to come in, period. Nobody's mad at you. The other side doesn't care. There's no guilt to be held on to. There's a reason why that happened.
Yes.
And, we are taught as women to be ashamed of these things and don't talk about it. And, oh, you didn't kill anything. The soul wasn't even in the body. It's just developing, right?
Yes.
It wasn't even in it. So there was nothing that you murdered. And I wish that people would be more open to listening to that. So we have these perfect souls on the other side. We come into these human bodies, and then we have to fight to remember our perfectness.
Yes.
Remember our light, because we have all these things that happen to us as we're growing up that dims our light, that changes it. And our sole goal is to remember that light, remember your lessons, learn them, die, and repeat.
Do you think that reincarnation stops at a certain point once the lessons that your soul is supposed to learn?
Absolutely.
You think so? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because there comes a time where you've learned all the things that you need to learn. Like, here are the things that I need to learn on Earth or in other dimensions or other universes. And as you're learning them, when you're done, you now become a spirit guide, or not even a spirit guide, you become ascended. So you climb up the ladder and do all the things, just like in the corporate world, right? It works very much like that on the other side. There's a reason why that Hermetic principle, as above, so below, works.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
As above, so below. So we have these, hey, let's climb the corporate ladder. I want to get where I need to be. That's because your soul knows the more I learn, the more I grow, the higher up in the dimensions I go on the other side. So it's beneficial to them to learn everything that they need to learn. And when you have a soul contract, because we all have soul contracts and we have this soul family that we reincarnate with to learn lessons from each other. And at some point, it's like, hey, you know what? I'm tired. You go reincarnate. I'll be your spirit guide.
Mm. So
So,
everyone has a soul group.
everybody, yes.
Wow. Is it where our families, say our mother, our parents, or our siblings, they belong into our soul groups? Can friends also belong in our soul
Absolutely.
groups? Wow.
Yes. So
Wow.
here's the thing.
Yes.
Anybody that you interact with who knows you is part of your soul group. So
Mm,
think about it, right? Depending on how big your life is or how little your life is, we have this average of anywhere between 1,500 to 2,500 people that are in our soul group.
wow.
And so we're talking
Wait,
about
say that
your
number again for me. I'm sorry.
1,500 to 2,500.
Wow.
But you have to think about it,
Yes.
okay? In your soul group are your teachers,
Yes.
your pediatrician, your doctors, your best friends, right?
Yes.
And so that's why it's so big because they all agree there's something that we need to learn from each other. And sometimes those lessons are not the great lessons. It's the, oh, you know what? I don't want to be like you.
Right, right. I always say with every person you meet, there's either going to be a lesson or a blessing.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's both.
Yes, yes, yeah. So that was just the first question. I'm so excited about this. That was, you just like unfolded so many different things. Oh man. Okay, so how I have you ever do people ever kind of feel attacked or are in the way when you say the soul doesn't actually enter the body until the umbilical cord is cut?
Mhm.
How do you handle that? I know not everyone can resonate with that.
They
And
don't.
yeah, and that's their journey.
It
But
is their journey.
yeah, yeah.
It took a long time for me to get to a place because I used to take everything so personal,
Right.
so personal.
Thing.
And because I had such a traumatic background growing up, I wanted to people please. I wanted everybody to like me.
Hmm.
And so I would shuck everything that I truly believed and take on someone else's beliefs so that I would fit in,
Mm,
and that's a problem for us. We need to stop doing that.
yes.
We need to use our voices and say what we resonate with. And so just the fact that I say outwardly I'm a medium, I get a lot of and I am not picking on anybody, but I get a lot of hardcore Christians, and it's literally the only religious group that attacks me.
Mm,
And they will say horrible things on my Facebook page. They will send me email. I will get letters in the mail to my PO box.
really?
Oh, yes. Telling me that I'm going to hell, telling me that I mean, it is what it is. And so I no longer look at those and I go, "Oh, I'm so sorry that you're living this box that you think that that's all life is." And then
Right.
I throw it in the trash.
Yes. Good for
You
you.
know, I have throughout my entire journey, I have crossed people who, I mean, I was raised Baptist and I converted to Judaism and I initiated into witchcraft for a little while because I just wanted to find some place that I felt like I
Mhm.
fit. And
Yes.
so all along this path, I've crossed lots of different religions, Hinduism, Buddhism, and I really finally have settled on even though I'm a spiritualist minister, because it really does fulfill my whole mediumship background.
Yes.
I really am an omniist because I believe there's truth in every religion. I don't think that they're all wrong.
Yes.
I think that they all have a spark of truth in them. What I also know to be a fact is that the patriarchy decided how those religions needed to unfold.
Mm,
And because of that, women are not upheld into the beautiful positions that they need to be upheld in. Mother Mary was not just the mother of Jesus, she was this amazing soul, and so was Mary Magdalene.
mm,
And people,
yes.
I mean, look at what the Catholic Church did to Mary Magdalene. They made her out to be a whore for how long
Yep.
before they finally said, oh, we were wrong?
Mm. Oh, did they?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, they did finally come out. I don't remember how long ago it was, but they
Okay.
did finally come out and say, oh, we were wrong. She was not.
I didn't know that. Okay, wow.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? But Jesus gave her all of these beautiful teachings for her to carry it forward,
Yeah.
but the patriarchy stifled her. And, we know what kind of racism and judgmental society that we are living in right now,
Yeah.
and so I do everything that I can with my very Caucasian voice to keep talking about the injustices that I see, where before I used to sit back and just watch them.
Mhm.
And I won't do that anymore. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right. And it's not that I feel how spirit wants this done.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? It's not like I
Yeah.
feel pressure from anybody else that I have to be accepted, because the things I talk about, I don't get accepted in a lot of places for it.
Yes. Yeah. But it's coming from your heart. That's where
Absolutely.
it's coming from. Yeah. I
Absolutely.
I love that you brought up that spiritualist minister, because that was actually my next question. How do you define as a spiritualist minister?
So, I actually trained in a spiritualist church in Lilydale. It's called Fellowships of the Spirit.
Okay.
And in order for me to become a medium, I took a course. It was a program. It was a 2-year long mediumship mastery program where I
Wow.
was put through the ringer.
Mm.
And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that, when you're on this path to mediumship, because everybody has this ability, everybody can do this. It's a matter of whether or not you want to make it a vocation. You don't have to make it a vocation. You can do it just for you so that you hear from your spirit guides,
Mhm.
and just to help you to carry on your life and do things in a more honest and authentic way, right? Listen to your guides. It'll say to you, hey, don't make this decision. So that's what I did for that 2 years that I was in school for that. And when I graduated, I knew there was something more for me. I just didn't know what it was going to be. And so one of my mentors went to this same church,
Mhm.
and I went through their program to become an ordained minister, which means that I can perform weddings and I have the spiritualist beliefs, which I do. And spiritualism is a religion, and it is very much in alignment with my belief system of we have a higher power, whatever you choose to call it, universe, source, God, Allah, it doesn't matter what you want to call it. There is a higher power, a creator. And from that, we also believe that there is life on the other side, that we can talk to our loved ones. And so I trained with them another 2 years to
Wow.
become an ordained minister.
Wow. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing your story.
Oh, my pleasure.
Does every medium have to go through that 2-year course training as well, or is it something that it just stood out to you? And yeah, that's
So,
amazing.
no, not every medium does it. And there are, unfortunately, as with any profession,
Yes.
there are people who say, I can do this, and they're not trained, and they can hurt people. Some
Yes.
people lie, some people, and unfortunately in society, the word psychic has become the catch-all phrase. And there is a huge difference between being a psychic and being a medium.
Can we
And
go
not
into
every,
that? I'm sorry.
yes,
Okay.
absolutely. I'm glad you asked.
Yes, please, please. I'm here for it.
So we each carry around an aura, right? Because we have a chakra system. So we all have an aura, which is our energy, right? It's our energy bodies. And as a psychic, if I have somebody sitting in front of me, even if they're not in front of me, if we're on Zoom or even if we're on the phone, I can tap into their energy. So as a psychic, I am reading your energy. So I
Mm.
can pick up that you had memories with Aunt B from Mayberry back in whatever. Do you know what I mean? So you can pick up those things and you can say, this is what they look like. And some people think that that's being a medium. That is not the case. It's also why we can say, this is what's going to happen in the future. I can see this, I can see that, because you're reading their energy.
Mm.
So your body carries with it all of your Akashic records. Do you know what those are?
Yes, ma'am. Yep. I
Okay.
actually just had a
So
reading.
your Perfect. So
Yeah.
your body carries all of your Akashic records with you no matter where you go. So you can read that energy and get some of that information. Now, that's where a psychic stops. A
Okay.
medium is different in that a medium isn't reading your energy.
Mhm.
In fact, there are some mediums who, when they work, will literally turn to the side so
Mhm.
that they're not looking at you because they don't want to read you psychically.
Wow.
And so what happens is with a medium is raising their vibration, spirit lowers theirs. That's how mediumship works. We meet in the middle,
Mhm.
right? And so we tap into that energy and we are able to see them and have them actively speak to us in the moment. And we can then start giving that information to the person sitting in front of us or on the phone, whoever we're talking to. A medium's job is to prove the continuity of life. So we have to be able to prove what this spirit was like, what they look like, how they behaved, things that you did with them,
Mhm.
and bring up things that are important to you. And in order to really put the icing on the cake, we usually will say, this is the last time that, they're showing me they were with you when you were doing XYZ, things I would never have known.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's the difference between a psychic and a medium. A psychic is reading your energy. A medium is speaking to the other side, improving the continuity of life.
Wow. Thank you for that. Thank you for
Oh,
that.
my pleasure.
What led you onto this path of mediumship and being a minister? Did you
Well,
just walk into it?
no,
Okay.
no. In fact, I did not go willingly, honestly.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
can't imagine my life any other way now, but I did not walk into this willingly. So this is an absolute true story. I even have a YouTube video of this on my website.
Yes.
So about 7 years ago, 7.5 years ago, I am driving down a highway here in Ohio, 75. And I'm driving home and I'm driving my SUV and I'm just, when I drive, you get that driving meditation, right? It's
Yes.
that thing where exits pass and you're like, oh my gosh, where did all of that go?
Yes.
So when I drive, I automatically go into an alpha state. And I just, an alpha is the state that you need to be in conscious wise to be able to talk to spirit. So I'm just in alpha driving along because it's the same drive I do every day.
Yeah.
And I'm driving along. And the next thing I know, I can see this man pop into my passenger seat. And he starts just jabbering away at me in this Italian accent. And he's got on this special kind of hat. I don't remember what it's called, like a fedora looking hat.
Okay.
And he had on a shirt and pants, and he was just jabbering away at me and saying all kinds of things to me. And as he's talking to me, I then get this like massive pain running up and down my right arm. And I'm thinking, oh my God, women can have heart attacks and you get it on the
And you
right
feel
side of
it
your
now. That's the first thing you go to, right? Not
Yep.
that not that he's talking to you and he just popped out of nowhere.
Yeah, I'm thinking, oh my God. Well, here's what I'm thinking. Oh my God, I'm dying, which is why I'm seeing this man. Like I'm ready to cross. This is it.
While you're driving, mind you.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there and thinking, oh my God, because I used to watch Sanford and Son when I was a kid, right? So I'm like, oh, Elizabeth, I'm coming to join you. And I am really panicked at this point. So what do? I don't do what you should have done and call 911. No, no. I
I'll
called
pull
my
over.
best friend.
Oh,
I called my best friend. And she answers the phone and I am now crying and I'm panicked. And she's like, are you driving? And I said, yes. She goes, okay, we need to switch your mind. She said, are you safe? And I said, I am. And she said, we need to talk about something other than what you just experienced so that we can get you calm and keep you safe. And I'm like, okay. So she talks to me until I get off the road and I come home and I park. And then she says, all right, tell me everything. So I tell her, I describe this man in his Italian accent. And I tell her all the things that he's saying. He was talking about, my girls, my girls. And he
mm,
kept saying to me, he kept showing me a 3-leaf clover. And I said, don't you mean a 4-leaf? Like those are way more bet. And he's got mad at me. No, 3. It had to be 3.
wow.
And he was talking to me about St. Patrick. And I'm like, what? You're not Irish. Why are you talking to me about St. Patrick and a 3-leaf clover? Like so confused.
It didn't make any sense to you.
Not at all.
Yeah.
So there were other things that he said, plus this pain in my arm, and I was telling her about the pain in my arm. So I told her all of this, and then just radio silence on the phone. I'm like, "Hello, Trish, are you still there?" And she goes, "I am." And she was crying, and I said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! This is my emergency, girlfriend. Why are you crying?" And she says, "That's my dad."
Mm,
And I said, "Excuse me?"
wow.
And she validated everything that he
Mhm.
said, everything. He had 3 daughters,
Mm.
and her name was Patricia, and she was named after St. Patrick because she was Catholic.
Oh, I got chills.
Her dad was born and raised in Italy, so it's why he had an Italian accent.
Yeah.
Now, he passed away before I met her, so I never saw his picture, never
Mhm.
heard his voice. I would never have known who he was. And I'm sitting in my car and I am completely dumbfounded. And I had a sunroof in my truck. And this is why I remember this, because my girlfriend says to me, she goes, "You're a medium." I said, "No, I'm not." She's like, "I beg to differ." And I said, I distinctly remember sitting there with my hands on the steering wheel, and I looked up through, because I already knew about spirit at that point, right? I was doing oracle cards and some stuff like that.
Okay,
I
yeah.
looked up through my sunroof and I said, "Spirit, I do not want to be a medium. Forget it."
And look at you now.
And you see who won that battle? It was not me.
Yeah, you lost.
I did. I mean, I won, but I lost the
Right,
battle.
right, right.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was just, and so I had to really come to terms with, is that really what's happened? You know, I hear these stories of people saying, "Oh, I've done this since childhood." And no. And I'm not saying that I didn't have amazing experiences growing up, because I did.
Mhm.
I have some that really stand out and were beautiful, but not an everyday kind of thing, not any of that.
Yes.
So I would never have thought that this was supposed to be my vocation ever in the world, especially because I had such a traumatic background. You think, well, who am I?
Mhm.
So I had to work through all of that.
Yes, yes. And it's interesting that you said before he appeared in your car and he showed himself to you, that you were already familiar with oracle cards, and
Mhm.
were you kind of like, it seems like you were preparing yourself for that in a way. I feel like when you start walking that path and you're
Yes.
open to it and
Yeah.
you're open to the belief in what the universe and the divine has to offer, it just opens up like the floodgates. I mean, it's beautiful.
It is. It's absolutely true. Spirit knew that I needed to be guided very gently down this path,
Yeah.
very gently, and ease me into it.
Yes.
And so what they did was they started me out with essential oils. And then
Mm.
I asked my girlfriend Trisha, I'm like, "Hey, do you know anything about essential oils?" She goes, "Oh, I've been using them for years." I'm like, "Why haven't you told me?" She's like, "Well, you're not really open to that kind of stuff." And unfortunately, that was true.
Yeah.
And so we started, she and I went and did certified aromatherapy together. We became certified aromatherapists. And then she's like, "You really need to become a Reiki master." So I took the classes to become a Reiki master. And I fully believe that my attunement and working with energy was what finally opened up my senses to, hey, look, we can finally talk to you and you're going to listen to us.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I love hearing stories like that. Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing
Thank you.
that, Maria. Thank you so much.
Oh,
With
my pleasure. I'm happy to share because I want everybody to know I'm just a normal human being with a crappy background. And if I can do this, so can you.
Yeah. Do so we all have that in us to open up to spirit. Only if we allow
Absolutely.
ourselves to do that, right? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. With being a medium, are you ever apprehensive about being around crowds? Like, does it ever get overwhelming? Is it something that you
Yes, very
kind of,
much so.
it does, yeah. Yeah. I wondered about that. Like if it's something that you can kind of just say, okay, spirit, not right now. I can't do this right now.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I teach mediumship, and that's exactly the very first thing that I teach my students. You are in charge of your mediumship. So you get to turn it on and you get to turn it off.
Mm.
And so I definitely turn mine off before I go to the mall or before I go grocery shopping or before I go to any place big. I do turn it off.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean that I'm still not aware of it. They're just not talking to me. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
So I'm
Yes.
still aware of all the energy. And that was something that I didn't even like going to concerts when I was a kid. Like I have friends who went to concerts all the time, and it was just overwhelming to me. Like now I understand why,
Mm.
but I didn't back then.
Right. Yeah. Wow. What was it like opening up about your gifts to family and friends in the beginning? I can't even imagine.
Well, so I had been married to my husband about 18 years at that point.
Okay.
And I finally sat him down one day when there was no more denying it. I sat him down and I said, I need to explain something to you. And he was like, okay, shoot. So I told him, I said, I'm a medium. And he laughed. But I mean, I've been with you for 18 years every single day, and I'm going to pull this out. So it took him a really long time, I would say a good couple years, to adjust to it. And now he's like completely on board, and he's,
Mm,
learning some stuff from me. It's not fully what he does,
okay.
but he fully supports me in what I'm doing. Now, the rest of my family was a whole different ball game. I think my children appease me and just kind of nod their heads and go, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, because I have 4 kids.
Okay.
And one of them I know completely believes. The other ones are just kind of like, eh. Um, but I love talking to my grandkids about it, what I'm allowed to say
Oh,
anyway.
yeah.
And, like I have siblings who made fun of me, and it's okay. Like it's all good.
Yeah.
I had to come to a realization that that's where you are on your journey,
Right.
not where I am on mine. And
Right.
that's how I got to a point where I was finally able to stop taking everything so personally,
Mm,
because we're all on our own journeys, and I cannot and will not force anyone out of your comfort zone. If you come to me and say, hey, I need help, then you're paying me to push you out of your comfort zone. But I'm not going to proselytize or shove this down anyone's throat unless they're ready. And
yeah.
even when you're ready, we do it gentle, baby steps, right?
Yeah.
Because especially when I say stuff like we at the beginning of the podcast, you're like, oh my God, my mind just. And so I let all of that settle, right? I'm not going to keep piling on to it. But if you're going to ask, I'm going to answer honestly.
Yes. Yes.
So I will always answer to the best of my knowledge. And if I don't have the knowledge at the moment, I'll go quiet and talk to spirit and say, okay, what do you want me to say? And then I'll just say whatever they tell me. And sometimes it's just shut up and don't say anything, just let it ride.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because I find myself when I don't follow my intuition or my gut or
Mhm.
anything like that, I feel like that's definitely connected to spirit. And when you don't follow
Absolutely.
that, it's like the opposite happens. And then in the back of your mind, you're like, but I knew I should have, kind of thing. And I love that it sounded like you made peace with whatever anyone believes towards you is their
Yes,
journey, and yours is yours.
correct.
I love that.
It took me a long time to get here, but I'm 54 and I'm here, and that's all that matters.
Yes, yes. Well, can I ask what happens when we die?
Oh, you can ask me anything. So when you pass away, there's this. Do you want me to share the story of what happened when my dad died?
Yes,
Because
please.
I can share you what I saw, like with my own 2 eyes, I experienced. I know what spirit tells me, but if I share with you what I saw, that may help your listeners.
Yes.
So my dad passed away in August of 21, and the day that he passed away, all of us were there. Most of my siblings were there. Their spouses were there. And I was there. It was just me, but I was with all of my siblings. So my spouse wasn't there or my kids, but we had a lot of people in the room. There were about 15 or 16 of us. And we were there for most of the day. And some of us were like, listen, I can't hang around and watch this anymore. So a lot of us left. But in the end, there were 2 of my siblings, my brother's wife, and me. So we're sitting in this room, and it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I can see my dad, we've taken the vent out, everything. He's just on his own, and it's just moving slow, which is okay. So my dad is laying in this bed, and I could see my grandparents and my great grandparents behind the bed. I
Mm,
mean, that's how I knew he was going to pass away when I first walked into the hospital, was I could see them, and I went, okay, spirit, you got around my rule of I don't want to know when people are dying. And that was the week before. So I'm sitting there, and as I'm looking up, I just felt this change, this shift of energy in the room, and it was a powerful shift. So I look up, and I see my grandparents like just go up behind the bed and disappear. And I'm like, hey, where are you going?
Wow.
And then the most amazing and beautiful thing happened. Archangel Azrael, who's the angel of death, comes down behind my dad's bed in this white, shimmery, sparkly gown. I mean, it's just this big, long white gown with these massive, Robin, these wings were huge. And
Mm.
they went out and around and wrapped my dad's entire bed.
Mhm.
And I can see them looking up at me. And I don't normally see stuff outside of my head. And I'm watching this. And in just that moment, I was not a daughter. I looked up and I said, you're Archangel Azrael. And they nodded their head. And I said, I can see you. And they nodded their head. And I said, can I ask you questions?
This is the opportunity now.
So I was totally not a daughter in that moment. And I'm like, can I ask you questions? And they nodded their head. And I said, you know, one of the biggest debates that we have here on earth is whether or not you are male or female. Because some people will say that Azrael is male, some people will say that Azrael is female. What are you? And they looked at me and they said, I am neither.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
am both masculine and feminine. I am
Mm-hmm.
completely in balance.
Absolutely.
And yes, had this beautiful mix of feminine and masculine energy. I mean, gorgeous face, beautiful face, the pale blue bright eyes, long beautiful gold hair, not blonde, I'm talking golden hair.
Mm-hmm.
And absolutely stunning. And I said, "Oh," I said, "So because I'm an earthling, would your pronouns be he, she, or them, they?" And he said, "For you, it would be them and they, which is why I refer to them now as a them or a they, because they're not one or the other."
Okay. Okay.
So if they were here on earth, their pronouns would be them and they because they are not, they're basically they're non-binary.
Right. Right.
And I said, okay, cool. So how does this work? I said, I thought that my grandparents would be here till the end and they would lift my father's soul up and out. And they said, a lot of people believe that. And they said, but what happens is we have them stay with them until it's time. Basically, they're like extensions of Archangel Azrael.
Mm.
And so they stayed with him until it was time for his energy, their energy to come down behind them and wrap my dad in peace. And I said, okay, because I know that time doesn't really exist. So does this mean that you're also in other places in the hospital? And they said, absolutely. You could go into other rooms and you would see us just like you're seeing me now.
At the same time?
Yes.
How does that work? Wow.
Because time doesn't exist. Humans created time.
Right.
If you think about all of the dimensions, right? So we're sitting here and it's, you know, it's July 28th, whatever, on our day, right? So whatever this day is, but stacked on top of that is 29, 30, 31, and it's, you know, 2023 and 1893 and 1593. Do you
Yeah.
see what I mean? Like it's all stacked.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's not linear. It's all happening right now. And so it's easy to just go wherever you need to go. You can be in several different places.
Wow.
I know I was shocked. And so I said, okay, so how does this work after that? And what they said was in the moment when the soul permanently leaves the body, there's this silver etheric cord between the human body and the perfect soul. When it is time, the soul, that silver cord dissolves and separates, and that's when the heart stops beating and the brain stops working. When
Mm.
that silver cord is finished and dissolves. In that moment, I take the soul and I have a very, what you would consider a very quick conversation with them to explain this is how it's going to work. This is what we need to do. And here's your family. They're going to carry you on.
Wow.
So it's like this brief moment. It's almost like a hallway. Have you
Yeah.
ever seen the movie Soul?
Yes.
I
Yes.
love that
Yes.
movie.
That's a great movie.
It is a beautiful movie, and that's the way they explained it to me. It's kind of like this hallway, right? Where you're in this hallway and I'm talking to you and giving you this information, then I hand you back over to your family. So they are met on the other side by their family, but it's kind of like this hallway between going from this dimension to that one, where Archangel Azrael is preparing them for what's going to happen on the other side. And then the family takes over and off they go.
After the body is finally shut down.
Yes.
Wow. Wow. Are the archangels, thank you for sharing that beautiful story.
Oh, my pleasure.
Are the archangels always with us? Can we call them in when we need
Anytime.
help? Yeah.
Anytime, anyone. And I realize that as humans, we have assigned certain things, like Archangel Raphael is healing and Archangel Michael is protection, and, all of these different things. But the truth of the matter is, they're just as multifaceted as humans can be.
Mm-hmm.
So if you resonate with Archangel Michael, but you want him as a dad figure or you need him as comforting, then that's what he's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
So you can call on any one of them at any point in time, because they're part of your spirit team. Whatever one you feel drawn towards is part of your spirit team. And it doesn't mean that they're there all the time. They're just there when you need them, and then they go off and do other things.
Yes. Wow. That's so much to unpack there. I love when you said Archangel Azrael and you asked them the question,
Mm-hmm.
how do you define yourself, male or female? And they said neither. And it's interesting with the the feminine and masculine energies, when they're both balanced, I feel like we learn how to truly live within our soul.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes. So that's so interesting that they said that.
It is one of the reasons why I will talk so much about being open and loving towards the LGBTQ community,
Mhm.
because people who are living trans lives, people who are living non-binary lives,
Mhm.
these beautiful souls have come down here to teach us
Mhm.
what balance can be. And we have so much to learn from them. And there are way too many people who are afraid,
Mhm.
because the attacks that come towards them only come from fear.
Right.
Any attack
Yeah.
comes from a place of fear, because you're disrupting my belief system and I'm not okay with this.
Right. Yes.
And I have spent most of my life being ashamed that I am white. And instead of being ashamed that I am white and heterosexual, I now use that voice to say where I see the injustices and where I feel uncomfortable with things,
Mhm.
because I cannot be the only one. I cannot.
Mhm.
Nor will I sit back and continue to allow things to happen that I'm really not comfortable with.
Mhm. Yes. So you use your voice. That's
I
powerful.
try.
And it's powerful. Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. How does connecting with someone's loved one help them in the grieving process as
You
a
know,
medium?
a lot of the times when people come and sit in front of me, it's because there's an unresolved issue with the death.
Mhm.
And during the reading, inevitably, that always comes up. And so during the reading, I get to sit and hold this beautiful sacred space. And I get to be the person to deliver the apology that that person has been waiting on their entire life.
Mhm.
I get to be the voice for the person on the other side who no longer carries the prejudices, no longer carries the anger, no longer carries fear, to say, oh my gosh, what did I do while I was down there? I was so wrong.
Mhm.
And being able to watch the boulders fall off of people's shoulders because of this, watching, I don't want to say their grief go away, but their grief lighten,
Yes.
because it's no longer an unresolved issue. They got what they needed.
Mhm.
And so I have a lot of people who would say to me, "Oh, you have such a beautiful gift." And it's not that I don't accept that, because I do, but I call these abilities because we all have the ability. However, there is a gift in what I do. And the gift in what I do is what I receive from my clients: the hugs, the kisses, the, "Oh my God, I can't believe you did this." And just the gratitude, the absolute gratitude. I cannot fathom ever not doing this for the rest of my life. I
Mm,
cannot.
mhm. Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's life changing for someone to
Absolutely.
come to you and really get um, that confirmation or that apology or whatever it was that their soul needed at that time. And for
Yes.
you to be that middle person to transfer it back and forth, that's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, that is the gift in what I do, and it is
Yeah.
amazing, and I am so honored to do what I do. I also laugh about it and tell people all the time, I get paid to make people cry.
In the good way. In the good
Absolutely, in a
way.
good way.
Yeah. Is spirit always with us? Those that have passed, have, I guess, our ancestors, are
Yeah,
they
all the
always
time.
with us? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever see the movie Santa Claus with Tim
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you know how his little boy had that little globe that shakes?
And he can
That
see.
is that is exactly how it works. He shook it and then his dad would show up. When you think of them, you're sending a vibration out into the universe that says, "Hey, I need to know that you're still around." And boom, they come.
Mm,
And so that's one of the reasons why I love teaching mediumship, because it's a way for you to begin to recognize the signs and symbols that your family's leaving for you.
yes.
My dad, which I didn't know until after he passed away, because he told me after he passed away, he didn't believe in any of this. He didn't believe I was a medium. He thought I was just making it all up, which is fine, whatever. I don't care. Um, and now, this is one of the reasons why I'm so grateful that I do what I do, because now I can hear from him,
Mhm.
and he leaves me signs all the time.
I believe it.
And, he leaves me Patsy Cline songs. He'll leave me Frank Sinatra songs. And these are not common songs
Yeah.
now. I mean, they're just not now in 2023.
Yes.
And so when these songs pop up, I just smile and a tear will come to my eye and I'll say, "Hi, Daddy."
Because he's right there.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I just want to share a quick story. I remember when my dad passed, back in 2015, and the song Landslide by Stevie Nicks.
Love that song.
Love that song. And it always reminds me of him, especially the part when, she says children, they I forget
Mhm.
how it goes, but
I
that,
do. I know.
yes.
Yes.
And I was in the grocery store, and it was that same exact week that he had just passed, probably over the next 3 days. And that song, I'm pushing my cart and I'm not really paying attention because, I'm just out of it, really.
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden, I hear the song playing in the store. And then my left hand gets so warm. And I'm like, "Hi, Daddy."
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I have so many different stories. So I am always so open and I love talking about this stuff because it needs to be shared. And
It
like you
does.
said, we can all experience it. And when you look at grief at us in a certain perspective, and that when your loved ones have passed on and they're always still with us and you can always call upon them, they're okay
Absolutely.
on the other side.
Hmm.
It's us that has the problem with holding on.
Yes.
The spirit ever describe what it's like on the other side?
Oh, yeah.
Is there actually a heaven? Is there actually a hell? I'm just curious about that.
No.
Yes, yep. I thought that.
No. Hell, heaven and hell. I mean, so there's no delineation between heaven and hell, right? There's just not. Hell is a human construct. And if you've ever read any of Dolores Cannon's book, you hear this come out during QHHT sessions, right? Heaven is just this human construct that the patriarchal church created to get everybody in line like the good little sheep that they need to be.
Yep.
So hell is not really a thing. Um, Heaven is what they would describe on the other side just because it's beautiful. It's love, it's peace, it's happiness, right? Things sparkle and they're not quite dimensional like this little, this hardcore touchy stuff because we don't have physical bodies on the other side. We don't need to have them. We're energy. So the energy shows up differently, but the colors are more vivid. Like they let me see it once in a dream, and it was so vivid that I like shot straight up out of bed going, "Oh my God, put me back in there. Why am I awake?" And they're like, "Sorry, kid, you're done." And I mean, there are colors like we cannot even imagine, and it is just happiness. Like there's no arguing, there's no any of this stuff over there.
Yes. Yeah.
It's absolutely beautiful and amazing. So if that's what you want to consider heaven, then yes, there would be a heaven, but there is definitely not a hell.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for going into that. I thought the same. I mean, and even here on earth, in this realm, we can create a heaven and hell for ourselves.
Yeah.
It all depends on our perspective.
Yes.
As we are coming to a close, I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I can go on forever.
I know, me too. I'd love to do this. Hey, you want to come on to my podcast?
I would love to.
We'll do it.
I would love to, Maria, and I would love to even have you back because I have more questions. But
I would love to come.
I want to respect your time. And as we are coming back to a close, how do you define God or the divine?
An amazing non-binary existence that is everywhere and so magnificent we just couldn't even picture it. To put him in a human body defies all logic.
I love that response. What is your spiritual practice?
What is my spiritual practice? So every morning when I wake up in the morning, it's more of a ritual, right? Every morning when I wake up, I say, "Thank you for this body. Thank you for allowing me to wake up. Thank you for the breath in my lungs." And before I go to bed every single night, I thank spirit for, even if it's not happening in the moment, because this is how you manifest. You thank them for it being done, not asking. You thank them for it being done. So I say, "Thank you for booking out my schedule for readings. Thank you for selling out my classes. Thank you for selling to that, my digital classes to thousands of people. Thank you for, my family. Thank you for my home. Thank you for my grandchildren." So I go through this whole big thank you list every night before I go to sleep, because what if I don't wake up the next day? I want to make sure that spirit knows I am grateful in this body, no matter its size, no matter its issues. I am just grateful to be on this plane doing what I'm doing.
Gratitude goes a long way.
Absolutely.
What is your definition of love?
To me, love is one of those things that's so expansive. How do you define it? It has no edges. It has no condition. It is loving. It is accepting. It is forgiving. That's love.
Yes. Who inspires you?
Oh, I really have to say that? There's a word that popped into my mind and I'm like, nope, that's really not it. So I will say the word that spirit gave me, which is humanity. Humanity inspires me, but as a human, I would not have said that. So that was divinely guided, Robin.
Right here, you saw that live.
Yeah, right here, you saw that. Apparently, humanity inspires me. It's because as a human, I would never have said that.
Yeah, I saw your reaction to it. Or we did.
Yeah, like, oh my God, really?
I love that. I love that. Because we have so much to learn from every single person.
Yes,
I
yes,
love
yes.
that. What has life taught you so far?
That I am a warrior. I can survive anything and still be here to speak. So I am a warrior and to never give up.
I love that. Thank you so much, Maria. Please let the guests know, do you have anything coming up that you would like to share? I'm also going to put your information in the show notes, your website, how can people find you, if they want to join the mediumship class, but is there anything that you would like to share before we go?
I have an online class, Spirit Guide 101, and it's 5 classes. But I would like to offer any of your listeners the first class for free.
Wow.
And so I will create the code Robin, ROBBIN,
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
that way they can use code Robin to get class 1 for free. And the way that they would find that is to go to templeofthesacredcircle.org and click on online learning. And you would just find class 1, and it has on my website, when you go into the online learning for Temple of the Sacred Circle, you'll see the first thing is the set of 5 classes, but it'll be the next one down, which is class 1. It's $33. I'm giving it to them for free because I want everybody to begin to understand how to work with spirit guides. And then it's an option if you want to buy the rest of them. That's completely up to you. But I will create that for them and put that out there. If they want to book with me and have a reading, you can go to MariaLeggettMedium. That's my website. So I do have an online temple for people to go to. We do Sunday evening meditations. And that's part of our spiritual practice, is doing the meditations every Sunday night at 6 Eastern.
I love that. Thank you so much, Maria. This is awesome. I just love I love your energy. I am
Thank you. Thank you.
grateful.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm
This has
grateful.
been so amazing. I could literally talk to you forever. It's like sitting with my sister and having tea, right? It's amazing.
Yes, I would love for you to come back and do a part 2. I mean, I truly enjoyed your energy in this conversation. Thank you so much for coming on today.
My pleasure.